Helena? You're back. When did you get in?
Late last night. I was supposed to get home this morning, but once the retreat was over, I didn't see the point in staying another night. Would you mind pouring me a cup of that, love?
Yeah, of course.
You know, coffee is one of the things that doesn't get worse with time.
What does?
Pretty much everything else.
Wow. Comforting.
Bit early in the morning for comfort. So, you found another one while I was away, did you?
Yeah. I was just walking in Manhattan and I felt it. I felt them. Their scream just echoed throughout my entire body. It was freaky.
Yeah, well, the network is one of the more unsettling aspects of this.
How does it even work?
I've not yet figured it out. I'm imagining, though, that it works in the same way that twins can have telepathy.
That doesn't sound very scientific, Doctor. More like supernatural shit.
Well, the supernatural is often simply the scientific not yet explained, as is much of our existence, although I am inching closer.
Seems like a slow process.
Luckily, we've got time. I'm going to go down to the lab, get it set up. When your friend is ready, send them down so that I can do intake.
I will.
Thank you, love. And thank you for the coffee. Floor restricted. Identity scan required. Identity confirmed. Welcome, Helena Mercer. Please select your destination. Destination confirmed. 26th floor. So, let's see. We'll need to create a new file. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done an intake. What do I need? Blood type, easy enough. Genetic sample, obviously. Medical history, if they know it. Seems doable. Oh, hello. Serena passed along my message, I see. It's a pleasure to finally get the chance to meet you. I'm Dr. Helena Mercer. And you are? Lovely name. I apologize for my absence upon your arrival. I was at a rather unproductive board retreat upstate, and I only got back in the early hours of the morning. Yes, I usually like to be there when a new revenant comes to the tower for the first time. I know how confusing all of this can be, so I try to offer my support and knowledge as best I can. Get all the business out of the way at the beginning. Did Serena not tell you why I've asked to see you? Yes, intake. It's helpful for me to have a certain amount of medical information about our revenants on file, should anything happen. Well, I think you'll find that when the threat of death is removed, people tend to get a bit more careless with their actions. I like to be prepared. No, you will resurrect should anything happen, but since you're quite new to being a revenant, that process will be slow. Through my research, I've found certain medicines or transfusions can speed up the resurrection process for revenants, but that requires me to have a certain baseline medical knowledge. So, if you would please take a seat, we can get that taken care of. Alright. First things first. You died in an accident, correct? Motor vehicle. And you obtained scarring in said accident, yes? I'd like to check on the healing of that, if you don't mind. Thank you. He's healing quite nicely. A few days more, and you'll never know they were there in the first place. Yes, given the severity of your injury, that's a fairly average healing rate for the first resurrection. As I said, it will get quicker over time, as your body gains experience healing itself. Yes, well, I've had a lot of time to study it. 500 years, in fact. No. I'm not the oldest revenant by far. The eldest I've heard of were a set of twins, each 50,000 years old. No, I've not met them myself. I've only heard rumors. But even then, can you imagine living for 50,000 years? Though, I suppose we won't have to imagine it, will we? Someday, that will be all of us. Apologies. I don't mean to make this even more depressing than it already is. I need to take a genetic sample and a sample of your blood. This might prick a bit. Not bad? Well, I've had many years of practice. As I said, these are both good things to have on file should you ever need a transfusion or medication to help speed your healing along. And I will be honest that I use these samples for my own research as well. Yes, the lower floors of this building comprise Etana, my genetics company. Well, I've always had a keen mind for science even before my first resurrection. And now that I am of this condition, I've dedicated my life to understanding why. At least, my life thus far. Well, among the many mysteries of revenancy, one of the main difficulties we face is that we don't know how to identify who can resurrect until they die, which for most happens at an older age when the body is no longer in prime condition. Part of Eterna is dedicated to unraveling that particular question. Once the revenant resurrects for the first time, their genetic makeup undergoes quite a drastic change. But obviously, until the revenant has died and resurrected for the first time, none of these healing aspects are activated, which leads me to believe that the initial death serves as some sort of trigger for revenancy. Yes, exactly. But what we don't know, at least not yet, is how to determine which people will experience resurrection when they die before they've died in the first place. And that is a large part of the question I'd like to answer. Aside from that, I study revenant DNA to understand what the differences are from mortal DNA. What are the differences that make us the way that we are? You could think that, if you wanted. I think it's a strong-held belief by many that God, whichever variety you believe in, chose us to be this way. I don't personally have an opinion on it, to be honest. I don't think a higher universal power is something I'll ever be able to have answers on. So, I prefer to focus on the answers I can actually seek. There we are. I promise these samples will be kept safe and used ethically. Here, this is a medical survey for you to fill out. If you have any history of illness or disability, those are things it helps me to know. That way I can make sure to study how the revenancy interacts with whatever pre-existing condition there was. Well, from what I've studied so far, the longer you live, the less affected you are by mortal things. Hunger, tiredness. For example, I still enjoy the taste of coffee, but it no longer gives me energy as it once did. Nor do I lose energy from having a few nights with little sleep as I once did. It takes much longer than it used to for those pains to set in. I think it's quite possible that, given enough time, the needs of mortality could fade from us entirely. Yes, if only I could ask those twins. Ah well, such is life. Yes, after we finish the survey, I'd like to run a few diagnostic tests, if you don't mind. Get an idea of your heart rate, assess your reflexes, just a few baseline things that I can test over time as you settle into your revenancy and track how they change. Yes, I've got running files on both Serena and Kaylee. Yes, that is what Kaylee meant when she said Serena was going to break her record. Well, one of the ways that you can speed up the body's healing process is to practice, as you would with any other skill you're trying to develop. Yes, exactly. You practice dying. Kaylee is not very keen on practicing, whereas Serena practices often, and therefore Kaylee's response is slower than Serena's, although Kaylee has been a revenant for longer. You'll be able to practice as well, whenever you feel ready for that. It's not something we like to rush at the beginning of revenancy, as you may be still suffering the effects of the trauma you endured, and the last thing we want to do is exacerbate those. We'll get to that in time. For now, if you can finish that survey, we can run our diagnostic tests and you'll be done. Just let me know when you're ready.